The year is 1849, and somewhere in Baltimore, a delirious man is found miles from home, wearing clothes that do not belong to him, and incapable of explaining how he found his way there. Within a few days, he is dead, after suffering from crippling hallucinations in his final hours and calling out for a man that no one knew. That man was Edgar Allan Poe, and the story of how he died is as chilling as the many stories that he wrote. His death was so Poe-like that had the man actually written it as a story, it may have been a bestseller. Historians have spent over a century looking through the details of just what happened, but much of it remains a complete mystery, perhaps one that will never be answered. Today, let's delve into the bizarre case of Edgar Allan Poe's death. What historians do know about the death of Edgar Allan Poe isn't much. Edgar Allan Poe disappeared not long before he was due to be married, 6 days before dying. He left his Richmond, Virginia home on September the 27th, 1849, headed to Philadelphia in order to edit some poems for one of his friends. He was found on October the 3rd, semi-conscious and incoherent, outside of a pub in Baltimore. It was soon discovered that Poe had never even made his way to Philadelphia and that no one had seen the man since he left his home 6 days prior. It's a complete mystery how he turned up in Baltimore. Either Poe had no idea where he was, or he was choosing not to hide his reasons for being there. Poe was found outside of the pub wearing shabby and soiled clothing that clearly did not belong to him. Poe was either unable to offer a reason for his state or simply didn't want to. He was discovered by a local typesetter working with the Baltimore Sun called Joseph Walker. Walker claimed Poe was only able to hold himself together long enough to disclose the name Joseph E. Snodgrass, an editor and a friend of Poe that had a degree in medical training. Fortunately, Joseph was able to contact Snodgrass through a note which read, "There is a gentleman, rather the worse for wear, at Cornelius Ryan's Fourth Ward Poll, who goes under the name of Edgar A. Poe, and appears in great distress. And he says he is acquainted with you, and I assure you he is in need of immediate assistance." Snodgrass arrived within a few hours, along with one of Poe's uncles. They were unable to explain Poe's behaviour or his absence, and neither were any of his other friends or family members. They took Poe to the Washington College Hospital, where the man fell into a blind fever. Poe spent 4 days troubled by hallucinations and fever dreams. It was reported that he called out to someone called Reynolds, but no one was able to identify who Reynolds was or knew anyone with that name. The identity of Reynolds is just another part of the overall mystery. Edgar Allan Poe eventually succumbed to his afflictions on October 1849. The official cause of death was originally listed as phrenitis, or a swelling of the brain. The original records of his death have since disappeared though. Modern historians have several theories surrounding the death of Edgar Allan Poe, each one as unusual as the one before. Poe had a reputation for being a lightweight when it came to drinking, and most of his acquaintances claimed it took just a glass of wine for him to become sick. This lends some credence to the theory that he got too drunk, whether it was forced or not. However, a physician that tested Poe's post-mortem hair samples claimed Poe had been avoiding practically all alcohol in the months leading to his death. This analysis opened the door for other theories about the mysterious death of this prolific mystery writer. It has been 169 years since Edgar Allan Poe's death, and in that time his remains have been studied several times. Most diseases like rabies and influenza have all been ruled out. Some researchers do claim it's impossible to prove definitely whether or not he was killed by an illness though. Theories that Poe was poisoned somehow have also been dismissed, as further studies on his post-mortem hair samples have provided no evidence to support them. However, there is one theory that came up recently that holds some merit. When the body of Poe was originally exhumed from his unmarked grave in Baltimore to be reburied in a more respectable grave, there was something of a mishap. After spending so many years under the ground, Poe's skeleton and his coffin were in a terrible state and everything broke apart. One of the workers who put the pieces back together noticed that there was something strange about Poe's skull. There appeared to be something rolling around inside of it. Physicians immediately jumped on this information, suggesting that it was evidence Poe had a brain tumour. Even though the brain is one of the first things to degrade after death, brain tumours can calcify after the brain degrades and are preserved in the skull. This theory about Poe having a brain tumour has yet to be debunked and is still to be confirmed by experts. Finally, as is often the case in the death of a man as mysterious as Edgar Allan Poe, there are many who believe that foul play was involved in his death. An Edgar Allan Poe historian by the name of John Evangelist Walsh theorised Edgar Allan Poe was murdered by the family of his fiancée, whom he was staying with in Richmond before his untimely death. Walsh claims that the family of his fiancée, Elmira Shelton, didn't want her to marry a man like Poe. After they failed to scare Poe by threatening him and took things to the ultimate level, by getting rid of him entirely. The death of Edgar Allan Poe remains a mystery even after 169 years. It seems fitting considering the mysteries the man was known to write. Poe practically created the detective mystery, so it's hardly surprising that his life and death became a real-life murder mystery.